Wow, we've made it here. Welcome to Hear It From the Bear with Spirit of the Bear. We are your hosts, Spirit of the Bear. And with us today, we have Parker Lewis from Akron originally and now in Columbus.
That's right.
Beautiful. How you doing today?
Awesome.
I'm doing well, man. Making it happen. Yeah, how are y'all doing?
Great.
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me. I was really appreciative that you guys asked me to come on. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Fellow Northeast Ohio native. Mm-hmm. We're all from Youngstown, so.
Okay, a good friend of mine went to Youngstown for a bit. Terrence Farmer, awesome saxophone player in here in Columbus.
Did he go to Dana School of Music? Then?
I'm not sure specifically. Probably though, if that's like the music portion of Youngstown State.
Mm-hmm. I think yes.
Sweet. Yeah, that would be it. Yep.
Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you have the two EPs out, part 1, part 2, all good things. I wanted to ask you, was that intentional to have it to be a 2-part EP, or did you have like one EP and then once you were in the recording process, you were like, okay, I got backlog of other ideas and then let's just do 2 parts, or how did that kind of come about just to do the 2-part EP?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Nick Hakim, who's an artist out of you guys know. He's blowing up the past couple years for good reason, obviously, and he had a pair of EPs that he put out, I don't know, like 2014 or something, and I thought that was like a wonderful way to sort of get music out without putting out everything at one time, and at the same time I had like 4 or 5 songs that were closer to being done, and then another batch that were still being like written and tracked, but I wanted to get something out, and so doing the 2 EP thing sort of allowed, the best of both worlds, right? To do both of those things, put out what I wanted to put out, but at the same time, give myself some more time, for a second sort of like installment, and so it was a mix of sort of different ideas, but definitely influenced and inspired by Nick Hakim for sure.
Sweet.
Nice.
I think
and
that comes through. Sorry, I was just gonna say I was listening to Nick Hakim's newest album, like the other day, and then I was listening to your stuff earlier today in preparation for this, and I was like, this guy kind of sounds like Nick Hakim, like circa Green Twins. The new album is really weird, and like not the same kind of vibe, but at least the past album, I was like 100% getting that vibe off of your stuff.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's special. He's got he's deep and really talented, and sort of one of those artists that makes you think as you're listening. It's not sort of an easy listen, but at the same time, it's just good music. So that's a really it's a formidable talent to have. Both sides of that coin.
For sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Sure. Is that something you shoot for when you write music too, then? Is that something that inspires you as far as like, not necessarily the musical aspect, but just the fact that you're like, I want to make these songs a bit deep, or like I want them to be able to be listened to multiple times to be understood, or like, do you think that has influenced your approach in that way?
It definitely has influenced my approach, but I'm not that deep. I can't fake that, and I don't want to necessarily either. So my writing process is more just like whatever comes. I don't necessarily have like a goal for like an idea or a song. You know, because it's really easy to sound like contrived or dishonest. I think, and so I try to stray away from that if I can. You know, and I'm not even sure if I do 100% of the time, but that's definitely important to me.
And then, kind of with those, like, I guess in the vein of like differentiating yourself as an artist, are you doing a lot of production, or do you work with somebody really close? At least maybe for these 2 EPs, was there somebody close to you that you were working with when it came to just the production of the records?
Sure. Primarily, I self-produce like all of the stuff, but there is a heavy hand of like my close friends who I'll bring in. I heard a quote. I don't know who or what it exactly is, but it's something along the lines of like, if you, like a great producer will, if he or she can't do something, they'll bring in somebody else who can do it better. Mm-hmm. You know, and sort of like, I think losing that ego of wanting to play every instrument if you can't necessarily is important. And so I'm not the best at any instrument, you know. I'm better at some than others, but like if I have an idea that I can't realize, then I'll call a friend of mine, because I'm blessed and lucky to have really talented friends. So Aaron White is a keyboard player that's all over All Good Things Part 1 and 2. I think, you know, if as artists, when you start playing on stuff, the production aspect sort of becomes blurred a little bit. So, you know, someone like Aaron, who's super talented, he'll just add certain pieces that maybe you didn't ask for, but you can use later. And I think that counts as production too, you know. So, you know, Aaron's all over that stuff. There's a drummer in town who's incredible, worldly drummer, young guy named Willie Barthel III. Oh, yeah. Fantastic drummer, yeah, from Columbus.
The last episode we did of this show was with Honey and Blue, who...
Oh, okay.
They also talked about Willie for a while. But yeah, he's incredible.
Willie's a special dude, special cat, and he played on a lot of the new stuff. For the last record, I got a shout out. Jordan Lewis played drums on some of that stuff. LaRon White played some bass. Cedric Easton played some drums. Shay Guy, Deja Watson Chandler, and Chris Noble sang background. Jeff Bass, an incredible bass player in Columbus, played bass. So I like the last record was really collaborative in that I wanted to sort of bring a lot of my talented friends in to help sort of realize those songs. But I was sort of obviously there, like putting pieces into place and sort of navigating and guiding, the energy in a certain direction. The next record is a bit different in that the cast of characters, if you will, is like a lot smaller. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, it's just like if I can't do something, I love finding a friend or someone who can come and do it the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that you're talking about like a record that you're working on now when you say the next record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Sweet. That's awesome, especially because I guess going back, the reason that we even found out about you, well, initially the reason the way I found out about you is because I did an internship a couple of years ago with the newspaper, and I actually called you to interview you at one point when you were on tour with Doc Robinson. Which,
I remember.
If you remember that. But that was like a quick interview, and then that's why I started listening to you. And then this band played Bright Winter last year and this year, but last year you were also on it, and I was like, guys, I interviewed this guy last year, we have to go see him. His music's incredible. So then we all stayed and watched your set.
Yeah.
And which was like amazing, and then
Killer!
From there it's just like,
because that was in the same spot.
It was in the same stage
right?
that we played. Yeah, it was
That
you played
indoor
like right
stage.
after us on that stage.
That was so fun.
But then from then I've been following you regularly. So to hear about a new record is definitely exciting for me. I actually ordered that. My girlfriend and I have the All Good Things vinyl that you put out with like the eyeball on it.
Yes.
So like,
quick shout out to Veda Azim, who's a local artist who did the art for that. He's an author, MC, writer, artist, graphic artist, community leader, awesome guy from Columbus, Ohio, doing big things. Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
But yeah, just generally speaking, I'm kind of like genuinely a big fan. So I'm very excited to hear about a new record.
Thank
and
you,
just
man.
like excited to have you on in general. So
that's
is
awesome.
that
I really
following up?
appreciate that.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, following up on that, is there any? Can you give us any hints on like the direction of this new album or like the writing process of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, the cast is smaller. I've been like working on these songs for the better part of like maybe a year and a half, 2 years, some of them, and I'm like actively working on like 15 songs, but I'm not gonna I don't know if it's gonna be a full length or probably less than that. Probably another EP or something. I'm not sure. But it's a bit. There's some happier songs on this record. There's definitely some sort of like darker material as well. I think it's a bit more polished, maybe. The production is a little heavier, you know. There's more like attention to detail, probably, and I'm really excited. You know, I just love being in the studio and being able to like finish stuff, which is the hardest part. I'm sure you guys know is like just being able to say something's done is just so frustrating and difficult sometimes, and but I just love creating. Process. Yeah, man.
And just like then everything surrounding that, so you've got to, you know, get the, I don't know if you mix yourself, but like, you know, you send the mixes out, or you send the songs out to be mixed, then you've got to tweak those in the masters, then you have to get photos and everything, like.
Yeah, I gotta send the mix out. If I couldn't mix my own stuff, I would go crazy, and it would never get done. But another shout out to Eric Kronstein is my mix engineer from Cincinnati. He owns a studio called The Tone Shop. It used to be here in Columbus, actually. He's an incredible guy. He's done work with other really cool local artists, Saint Seneca, Sidekicks,
dope.
Just to name a couple. He's just a really fantastic mix engineer, really great ear.
Yeah. Speaking of collaborators as well, I noticed when I was looking into your stuff for this that you did your photos with Nick Fancher, who we also, for our upcoming album, we just got photos done with Nick Fancher, who is the most amazing photographer. Like, it was like the craziest experience. He was like, you're in here for an hour. And then we were like, all right, that's like no time. And then we come out and it's like, I've never seen anything like these photos of me. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. He's so artistic, man. And that's funny that you said it because I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, we only get an hour?
Yep.
Like, that's all I'm going to put down? Yeah, that's so true. But what I love about him is that he does all his stuff in camera, which I didn't really understand anything about that until I met him.
Yeah, it's all just lights. There's no Photoshop involved. It's just like the lights.
Right.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Like, what a cool way to be creative rather than sort of do it on the back end. I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, he's fantastic, man.
And I don't know how it was for you guys, but he really gave us like the opportunity to bring our own ideas in too, which was really, really cool. He's just open for everything.
Yeah, super down to earth, and which is crazy because he's worked with like the biggest artists on the planet.
Yeah,
huge.
Yep. Yeah,
you would never know it by talking to him.
He's got that like book on the table. You've got like Kevin Hart in there. You've got like Korn, just like random acts. Like, you're like, what?
What the? You're right. Exactly. He's worked with like Tame Impala and all that. Yeah, that's wild, man. He's crazy, and he's just so he's so chill. He's so cool.
The nicest guy, yeah.
He asked me if I wanted coffee, which is like my favorite question.
Yeah. Because the answer is always yes.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Well, it's amazing he's doing all that, and he has the only like social presence online he has is a blog, right? Because he has no Instagram. I don't.
He
think.
got his.
I think he brought his Instagram back. I
Yeah,
think.
'cause
did
for
he?
a while
Okay.
he got rid of it. He had like an Instagram with like tons of followers, like 50,000, and then he got rid of it because he said it was just like stressing him out or something along those lines. I'm sure there was, something more involved, but yeah, then it was just the blog, and I think he just recently brought back a
Gotcha.
smaller Instagram presence.
Full of them. Columbus is full of them. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's an insane place to be, especially like because like I said, we're all from Youngstown, and then I came here to go to school at Capitol, and then that's like I was just like surrounded by all these people. I was like, this is insane. Like just the way the community all like feeds back into itself, especially like being at Capitol. It's like all the people that I was taught by. It was kind of like they were all part of the scene, and then you go and you like start to be a part of the scene, and then you realize that everyone just knows each other, and everyone's amazing. Like it's a really unique place to be for sure.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
So actually, piggybacking off of that, I saw that you went to Capitol. So when you finished school at Capitol, did you have a job, or was it like the scene? Like, what kept you in Columbus? I mean, it is just an incredible place. But was there one thing, or?
Well, I used to be in this band called Forest and the Evergreens in town, and we started that band, I think, more or less in my senior year, which is 2012. So after we graduated, we were sort of on like an uptick or whatever. We were like getting different opportunities, and so we really pushed that for years after that. And so as soon as I graduated, I was just in the scene, playing in restaurants and stuff like that. And then in between that, we were out on the road and in the studio and trying to make our way as a band, independent band. And I did that for like 4 or 5 years with them, and never really held a like 9-to-5 sort of ordeal. And I worked 1,000 jobs in high school and all that, and during college. But yeah, as soon as I graduated, I was just straight music for like 5 years probably, with Forest and Evergreens too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
Was
everyone
the-
wants. It's just like, oh, I'm out of music school, time to do music, which is sadly not the reality for most people.
It's tough, man. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's really hard. And you gotta grind all the time, and you gotta put yourself out there and really commit. But that's really where I cut my teeth as far as like playing on stage and learning what that's about, and writing with other people and collaborating as a group. And so yeah, I wouldn't change a thing actually. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how was the transition from being in Forest and the Evergreens to your solo stuff? Was it like a I guess a different creative process when you were writing and that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think before Forest and the Evergreens decided to like take a hiatus, at the time I had a bunch of songs that I was like working on, and so when we stopped playing together, I still had all these tunes I wanted to work on, and so that really is what inspired the Parker Lewis like project or whatever. It was like I just wanted to finish those songs, and so in that way it was more or less the same, except it was like just me in the studio instead of like 5 guys. And then that evolved into me inviting some other friends to come and help me put it down and track everything. So it was a similar process. Like I was definitely more in control, which is different from Forrest. Forrest was like really democratic, and although I wrote a lot of that stuff, it was really collaborative, with everybody in the band, because everybody in that group were great writers and players, and so Parker Lewis is obviously, it's like a solo project or whatever, so that process was just a bit more like insular, and yeah.
Sweet. And then now, I mean, even so, you mentioned that you had a lot of opportunities and you were kind of, like you said, on the uptick with Forrest and the Evergreens. How was transitioning into your solo project as far as that? Like, how many of those things carried over, or was it kind of just like starting from zero again? Like, because at this point, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a little bit, but like, in the last couple of years or so, this solo project has seemingly been on that same trajectory. You've been opening for O.A.R, you've been opening for CAAMP, and you've recently been on Colors. So how was that, like I said, was it kind of like starting from square one again and building it back up, or was there sort of like a carryover as far as those opportunities went?
I would say it was like starting from scratch. Being on a local level, it's like you work hard to sort of disseminate your music enough to hopefully, if that's what you want, to work towards like a career, right? And so that's what I wanted. And so when Forrest was done, like it was important for me to keep sort of writing and stuff, and so I was working at that and keeping that moving. But I knew that it was going to be like starting over, which in the beginning was, I don't know, it was, I don't want to say daunting. It was just like, it was a new thing, and it was sort of sad, and it was sort of freeing at the same time. Like, it's bittersweet, right? And exciting as well. And, for better or for worse, when you work basically alone, as far as and on the business end, you sort of are able to pass decisions faster, make decisions quicker about certain things, because you don't necessarily have to like discuss with other members of the band, And like I said, that's not necessarily good or bad, but I think because of that, I was able to get things going faster for me. And I think it worked a little bit in my favor. But I would say it was more like starting over, and I sort of like approached it like that, rather than trying to like piggyback off of stuff that Forrest had built before or something. And it being a new project, it would have been hard to sort of, I don't know, try to like, I don't want to say that, I don't know, just like morph that into another thing and have it be the sort of like the same.
Yeah.
Especially since you said you wrote a lot of the material for Forrest and the Evergreens. Like, it seems like it could have just been another iteration of that musically, but you decided to instead use that freedom to do something different, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was time for that, Yeah, for me personally.
Sweet.
Before we get to the color session stuff, because we have plenty of questions just on that, I wanted to ask you kind of about, I guess your upbringing when it comes to music, but what in particular kind of made you gravitate towards the guitar?
I started skateboarding when I was like, I don't know, 10. Pretty young. And me and my like best friends would skate all the time, and we would go back to their houses, and they all had older brothers who were like the same age, and they were all playing guitar at the time. Like they were all the same age, as far as like they were like 4 or 5 years older than us. So they were like in high school playing guitar and playing in bands and stuff at the time, and so we all thought that was like the coolest thing. And so I probably started playing guitar, I don't know, when I was like 12 or 13. And that was sort of how that came about. You know, they were all like playing Nirvana and the White Stripes in the basement in bands, and like we just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so we would like start a band or whatever, and then, you know, when they would be done with practice, we would hop on and start playing guitars and drums and whatever. And so guitar was like the first thing that I sort of picked up. My parents like forced me to have piano lessons when I was a kid, which at the time I didn't like, you know, because we were playing nursery rhymes and doing that whole thing where you just, as a kid, you don't want to do that stuff. But as I grew up, I was like, man, I wish I would have sort of stuck with that, like through to the end. But I'm really grateful to have that time where I was, you know, learning. But yeah, it started from just like being around my friends' older brothers and us just sort of like kicking it, you know, after they left and picking up instruments and that kind of thing.
Nice.
That's awesome. Our band has gone through many skateboarding phases. Both.
I'm in one right now.
both in real life and just via PS3 skate video game.
Okay. Yeah, man.
To this day, probably the best video game I own.
Dude, they're redoing the first 2 or 3 Tony Hawk games in September. That's coming out. Then that's going to be another evolution.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I bet we could get Tony Hawk on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's
Doing a
busy.
lot of, hey, he's been doing a lot of press lately. You never know.
Hit him up. Hit him up.
He could use the exposure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we won't pay him, but we'll pay him an exposure.
All right, James, did you want to start asking about the color sessions?
This is Ethan's fight.
Oh,
This is me.
Ethan's.
Yeah. So first off, incredible performance on your colors.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Performance. It was amazing.
Is that, before we even start, is that one of the songs from the new record then? Potentially?
Yeah. There's 2 that we released actually. I don't know if you saw the Say Less was the second one. That was like a side stage little deal.
Sweet.
But yeah, both of those will be on the new record for sure.
Dope.
Nice.
Okay. Sorry, Ethan.
My first question, and I know, I'm just super excited. Okay, I need to know. Is the room just a green screen room?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Makes a lot of sense.
It is solved.
Yeah.
Is that classified information?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it's classified.
We're gonna
It
expose
doesn't matter now, I
colors.
guess.
At one point, Ethan and I tried to figure this out like a little while ago. We were like, how do they do it? Like, is there just like a bunch of different rooms? But then we kind of went through all the thumbnails and we were like, no one wears green in any of the things. So it's got to just be a green room because also you see some where it's just like one person and then some where there's like a full band. We're like, there's no way they can just afford to have like, you know, 24 different colored rooms.
Right. No, it's
All to the
definitely
same specification.
a green screen sort of room, which I think is probably common knowledge actually, so I'm safe.
Is that the only question?
Okay.
Is that the only question?
No, I have more. Sorry. No, there was people coming.
That's
through
sort of
the
like the
doors,
most
just
important
muting the
question.
mic.
That's the nugget.
That was the most important question. I'll just follow it up. So, okay. What was my next question? I can't even think of it right now. I just
on the
now
dock.
know that the room is not a room
Still
is a green
processing
screen.
that.
Right.
It changes so much.
Yeah, no, what is do you know how the room color is determined? Is it something that you choose or is it something else?
Wait, say that one more time.
Is the room color something that you choose or is it something that is just decided upon by the people at Colors?
I told them, I gave them a few colors that I thought would be cool, that I thought like sort of worked with the song. But they ultimately chose a different color, which I was cool with, you know. So yeah, they definitely have sort of creative control like that.
Is like what's the space like? Is it like a other than the room? Is it just like a whole like complex, or is it something that is like some not small space, but like a single space where it's just a single room?
So basically, you go out in the woods and they take you to this waterfall, and you go behind the. Well, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's like a big warehouse, and they have like a cool sort of like artist spot, and then they have the studio where they kind of put all the pieces together, and I assume it's like a television studio. I've never been to a television studio, but I assume it's similar to that. Which I also think is probably common knowledge, so I'm not spilling too much about
That's just
how they're set up.
But that's what's so dope about it. It's so genius. It's like, well, we've got a big green screen room. Like,
Yep.
we could do a million things with this. Like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's just genius. Like, that's why I blew up, I imagine. Just, it's like so pleasing to look at. And the idea is so simple. Like, there's nothing
simple,
more
right.
simple. It's just like, let's get people in this room and just like make it a different color every time.
Yeah.
And they've also never put out a bad
They found
song.
their corner and their niche, and they're doing it. So, and they do it well. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sweet. That's dope.
Did you reach out to them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
I
I
was
was gonna ask.
saying the same thing. Did you reach out to them, or did they reach out to you? Like, how did that connection happen?
So basically, they when I put the record out, the All Good Things Part 1, they put Only Fire, which is the 4th track. They put that on one of their playlists on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And so I commented on their post about it, and one of their A&R people contacted me and sort of encouraged me to submit. He didn't make any promises. It wasn't like that. He's just like, hey, we love the whole record. Why don't you submit and see what happens? And I did, and the rest is history. And that was like over a year ago. So at the time when we started communication, when everything was sort of like agreed that, we would work together, I didn't think I had the right songs to just sort of like do it right away. Plus, they're based in Berlin, so that's a whole other sort of.
I was gonna ask that too. I was like, isn't it in Germany or something? Like,
It's in Berlin, which I'd never been to Europe until I did that, and
damn.
Wow.
so
That's
because of sort of
awesome.
like all those logistics, it took me almost a year to like get back in the studio and like wait until I found the right song, and then sort of work with them and figure out what would be the right tune, and but it was worth the wait for sure for me.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Super cool. Yeah, I love those colors videos. Just I've watched like almost all of them whenever they come out. So very cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think just like everyone in the Columbus scene, at least people that I know, are like freaked. You posted like, oh, I'm gonna be in colors, and we were all. I was with, Jordan Alexander. He's in the Turbos.
Yeah. Shout out to Jordan.
I was with him like the day after you posted that, and we were just like, what the fuck? Like, how? This is insanity. So it was just super cool to see you represented, and just like the city of Columbus represented on that level. Like, was really, really cool.
Hell yeah, man. No, it was good. I was really grateful for the experience and the opportunity, and it was awesome, man. I was glad I was able to do it.
Yeah, that's dope. Let me vault over to the next thing.
So we usually start with this, but what was or how has been the whole quarantine for you? Has it been like a really nice outlet for just like creativity, or was it kind of like a struggle at first to like get things going? How did you, work within those bounds, and with quarantine being here?
Sure. Well, it's sort of strange. It's sort of surreal for everybody. And like, when they canceled the NBA, and I saw that on Reddit, that's when I was like, what the fuck? What is going on? Like, what is going on? Yeah, like
that was the big. That was
that was it for me, man. I knew it it was coming. And like when we were in Europe 2 weeks before that, so actually,
Oh, wow.
like a little crazy side note, like I recorded Colors in Berlin on March 3rd.
Jeez.
And
dude.
You cut it close trying to get.
dude, we
get
were right
back.
there. We were right there, and like it was funny because in Germany at the time, like everybody was in the streets and eating out, and we did the same thing. My girlfriend Vivian and I went, and so we experienced like the nightlife and the restaurants, and everything was normal. So it hadn't really hit over in Europe yet at the time, and then. At the end of our trip, we went to France to hang out for a minute because we're here, we might as well like explore a bit. And France was the same thing, but then at the end of the trip, well, it was like I don't know, March like 12th, 11th, 12th, we started to get like email alerts from the airlines, and sort of like starting like the warnings were getting more severe and more strange. We're like, are we gonna be able to get out? Like, what's going on? So we made it home. And I think 2 days later is when Trump like invoked the travel ban from Europe. So we like just made it back home.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like a weird little sort of like side note, we like just made it back.
Yeah.
And
I
but
had
really
like-
my experience in no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had like a similar but smaller scale experience because my other band, Ghost Soul Trio, we had a gig in Chicago on like March 6th or something, and we played. And at that time, it was like, oh, there's like 10 coronavirus cases in the country, and there's like a couple in Chicago. That's kind of scary. And then we got back on March 8th or whatever, and that was it. It was like we were like, oh, we maybe shouldn't have gone to Chicago, because that was where it
Right.
started in the country. And then we were supposed to play another gig that weekend, and it was like done. Canceled.
That's wild, man. And like a week later, the government was telling you to stay in your bedroom.
Yep, for 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this shit is crazy, man. But for me, once I got past like the realizing that we weren't going anywhere, I sort of just like hunkered down, and I wrote some new music, like many of us did, and I like I think the funny thing that you see now is like everybody baked their own bread, right? I learned how to make bread.
Literally, yeah.
I'm guilty of making my own bread.
Me too.
I did that.
It's good though.
Which
Do you
I'm
have a
proud of,
favorite
actually. It
bread
came out
recipe?
pretty well.
I baked a couple loaves during quarantine, and they
I
were
learned
good.
to make pizza.
Okay.
Kind of like baking bread.
That's exactly like, yeah, absolutely. Which I think that's cool. I think it gave everybody a moment to like either be creative or learn a new skill, or just kick it and like be lazy because there wasn't shit else to do and the government literally wasn't allowing us to do anything else, or do all three. And like I definitely did all three at different times.
Yeah.
And like
Same.
Yeah.
In the thick of it, I was just gonna say, in the thick of it, like all I was doing was just playing Legend of Zelda for like weeks. Like that's all I did, and then I was like, wow, maybe I should like do something else.
no, there's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was gonna say too, from almost all of our previous interviews that we've done, when we've asked this question, it's been honestly positive in like the creative sense, where they're either trying new things or writing new stuff. So
Yeah.
It's a good time for it, for sure. Yeah, you might as well, like, I guess now things are sort of getting back to normal or whatever.
I would say
Yeah.
coronavirus wise, yes, but socially we're all the way fucked.
yeah.
So
Yeah, real quick, we need to shout out, I need to shout out Hakeem Callwood, my buddy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I bought this t-shirt from him. I think we all agree police need to stop killing black people.
I think we do.
Hell yeah.
lives matter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was something that was crazy too, was that I just moved this apartment I'm in now. I just moved last week on Friday, and that was like really the first night when it started picking up. And I'm living in the short north now, and I'm on High Street, so it was just like first night here. It was like when it was probably the night when like windows were getting smashed and that kind of thing. So just like seeing it, I mean, and then now like last night, they took the curfews away, but it's been completely calm ever since they, even when they took the curfews away, it's been completely calm. So it just goes to show it's like, you don't need to oppress people. Like, it's just hurting, it's just hurting more than it's helping. It's like, oh, we're going to put a curfew in place. That'll keep people in check. But it just, like, made people more angry.
Right.
But, yeah, I'm happy to see that it's at least, like, we're starting to move in the right direction. Because it kind of, the thing I've been seeing is people saying, like, oh, man, like, everything's so crazy right now. Or, like, like, what's happening right now in our country. And really it's like, well, things have been happening for decades and we just don't acknowledge them, and then now it's like everyone's like, okay, it's time to talk about this, which is really cool to see, I think.
Yeah.
And Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's really gonna prove your side, police.
Well, I think that was really what, like, because I mean, obviously when George Floyd got killed, that was the whole, like, the straw that broke the camel's back. That was what really pushed the movement over the edge into the public consciousness to the point where everyone was talking about it. But then, yeah, like, 2 or 3 days later, it's like, okay, really the conversation is like beyond just like police killing people. It's like police are just like hurting everybody at this point. It's like you go out to protest and you fear that you're gonna get pepper sprayed in the face for just like being out there, or like you're gonna get hit with
something you're allowed to do.
Actually have one of these things. They were shooting these at people on the other night. And
did you get hit with that?
I did not. The dude, like, close to me did, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh my god, like, this is, like, the size of, like, it fits in my hand. It's like a marshmallow. Like Mike said, it looks like a marshmallow.
How crazy is that, man?
Which is insane. Yeah, there was a guy that was near me when I was out there the other night, and he got hit with it, and he just had, like, it's like bleeding, like, a welt on his back. Like,
well, there was, I think, more than one account of, I think it was only a handful, but there were people who were losing eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were getting shot in the face by
one of them was
the marshmallows, which are not marshmallows.
One of them was a reporter, too, just doing their job.
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, it's
like-
insane, man.
Which, like, how crazy is that?
It's wild. It's wild. You should keep that. It's a relic, man.
Oh, yeah, I'm never getting rid of it.
People are going to be talking about that.
I'm going to give it to my grandkids, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I keep hearing and seeing people talking about sort of history being made and the fact that we're sort of living in this moment.
Yeah.
And it's so true, man. Like, there are literally going to be chapters and chapters and chapters upon what we're living in.
Oh, absolutely. This is like, not only is it like, it's like basically seemingly kind of like another wave of the civil rights movement, but it's also like happening in the middle of a pandemic which hasn't happened for 100 years or whatever. Like, yeah, this is like an insanely historic year.
Well,
Yeah.
I think a big thing with it all, I suppose the upside to all of it happening now is that, it's an election year, number one, which is really probably going to hopefully open a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
But, obviously presidential level, but I think more importantly, every individual doesn't take enough responsibility at the local and state level. And that's where you're going to see police reform. You're going to see, everybody's talking about reallocating money and stuff. Everybody has a responsibility now to take that action and learn about the people that you're electing at those levels.
For sure.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like you said, like, it's the local level is something we can control more readily, and it's going to affect us quicker. And like you said, sort of people being aware now. I mean, I definitely wasn't thinking about the police budget a month ago.
Oh,
Right.
for sure, yeah. Never in
And
my
I'm
life.
outside of that oppressive, situation. But now it's something that's top of mind for me,
For
and
sure.
so like, yeah, I agree. It's a really important, obviously a tragic moment, but also really important because those sorts of ideas and information are now, we're talking about it right now on this podcast, and
Yeah.
like, that's huge.
And not to say I am the best local person. I take full responsibility for me because I'm the biggest hypocrite as far as not paying enough attention to local elections.
For sure.
So this is now for me personally is the time I need to actually like step it up and find resources for these things.
Absolutely, man. Yep, and that's the move. And like, it's never too late to start. And I think that's important for all of us to remember too. Like, even if we felt like we were, being, I don't know, just we weren't sort of like opening our eyes in the past or that sort of thing. Like, it's never too late, to jump on and start doing research and think about, what people in government around you are doing. And so I've definitely been, woken up now about it even more so. So that's great.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've really enjoyed how social media has been mobilized as more of a platform to address these things. Like, I feel like this will be a continuation of what people are going to be saying on their social medias and on their stories is going to be more of a focus on how can we address things that are important to us rather than more of the initial reason for social media, which was I guess taking pictures of yourself. So
100%.
Yeah, it's changing everything really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even like people are, I've heard people or just seen social media of, people that are not necessarily on the same side being like, well, what good is this doing? Like, it's just hurting people. Obviously, that's a common, kind of rebuttal is like, what's the point of these protests? Like, when they're getting, violent in some cases. But I mean, already we've seen like Minneapolis, which is obviously kind of the hotbed for this movement right now, has already decided, I think yesterday or today, to disband their police force. They announced.
Yeah.
And
Right. I saw that.
California's been defunding. Columbus,
LA.
completely silent. Columbus is, but
It's a start, right? And I think also, you mentioned social media. People are sort of seeing the horror right in front of their eyes on their phone, and not just like in the sense of not only in the sense of like police brutality against the black community, but now with these protests, like they don't care. They're driving over people in their their trucks, and their cop cars, and just pushing old men to the ground and like crazy shit that I think some people weren't hip to or weren't now they're reminded of, and so it's like it's wild. The crazy power that people have on social media, for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
I think more than anything, you're seeing countless cases now with all this happening of just like if something goes down and this is a serious issue right now, but if something much more forceful were to happen, it just shows you what is kind of out there against us in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that definitely will wake a lot of people up.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I think we all hope so. So, as they sort of start to write more stuff into law, and we keep having these conversations, and evolve those conversations into action and donation and support. I think it has to change. The naive white part of me is hopes that and thinks that it's going to change, but I feel like our generation is different, so as far as like being more open-minded, not to get too hippy dippy about it, but I think that, you know, I don't know. Like I said, we've been talking about it for the past 20 minutes on this podcast, which I love. But I don't know if you would see that in a, you know, I don't know, in a different era.
For sure. Yeah, man.
Just gotta get out there and vote.
Yeah.
Get out there and vote.
Yeah,
Amen.
Start.
line. We'll put a register to vote link in the description.
Over
There
there?
you go.
Or maybe over there.
There you
It
go.
would be
Absolutely.
down there.
Maybe over there.
Or I guess if you're listening on Spotify, somewhere else, just go register to vote.
Go Google your state and register to vote. There you
There
go.
you go. Yep. Absolutely.
Sweet. And that conversation pretty much brings us to close to the end of our hour.
Our time.
Yeah.
So Jamie,
I usually like to go out on a lighter note, but we wanted to know, like, what have you been watching on TV lately with all this free time, or listening to in these past few months that you could share with us?
Absolutely. Let's see. What have I seen recently? I've been listening to a lot of Stevie Wonder recently.
oh man,
I think it's Prince's birthday today, actually. Shout out to Prince. I was listening to that Nick Hakim record heavy the past couple weeks as well. And as far as like watching, last night I watched Mr. Brooks. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Kevin Costner's like a serial killer. It's trash. Don't watch it.
That was our first not recommendation.
yeah, that was the first time someone's been like, "Don't watch this."
I'm not sure what else I've seen recently that I watch random stuff like cooking shows and like.
Me too.
Nice.
Dude.
Yeah, whatever I'm in the mood for, I'll like pull up YouTube and like put on I don't know, just like whatever comes into my feed really that I find interesting. During the quarantine, actually, I watched a lot of NBA. I'm a big basketball fan.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
I watched like a lot of different final series from the past like 30 years. So I guess a lot of basketball, old school basketball recently.
Did you see the Michael Jordan documentary?
Yeah, absolutely.
Recently? That was crazy.
thought it was awesome. I thought it was great, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like shitting on it because Michael Jordan was the producer or whatever, so he had like a lot of creative control and final say. But like, all you need to know, which everybody knew, is that he's the GOAT, and like, he was an asshole because he had to control his goatness. Like, I don't think there's much more to the story that was like misconstrued. So I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a champion.
I meant to ask. What's your favorite cooking show that you watch?
Whew. I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of the reality cooking shows. I'm more like, I don't know, like the Action Bronson show is hilarious.
Oh, man.
That's great.
That show's great. I have his cooking book, or his cookbook.
Right.
Or I don't have it, but my old roommate had it, so we would mess
I need
around
to
with
pick that up. Yeah.
Oh, we just lost Ethan.
See ya, Ethan.
Ethan's
Loser.
This is the part where we boot Ethan out and talk bad about him.
That's this segment of the show.
This segment of the show is called "Fuck Ethan," and
Speaking of cooking shows, Ethan stinks.
Actually, Ethan makes a mean burger.
He
He
does.
makes
He's a good cook.
some good eggs too.
yeah, we like
I-
Ethan. He's pretty cool.
I can't help but say I'm a fan of some of the Gordon Ramsay shows.
Yeah.
Jamie's big on
Go
Chopped.
that.
It's like a guilty pleasure thing, but
He knows what he's doing. Do you know who Jamie Oliver is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Oliver's great, man. He's got a good show.
My big kick.
I just
recently-
love watching people cook stuff.
yeah,
it's very satisfying. My big
It's
kick
so nice.
recently was 90 Day Fiance.
My girlfriend loves that show.
It's the
Yeah,
best.
so does mine.
I hate that show.
Oh, to go back to cooking shows, a huge recommendation. I don't know if you would consider this like a reality one, but it's like I watched both seasons in like, I don't know, at least less than a week, and it's called Ugly Delicious. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, with David Chang. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. And there was like some things I was kind of like, I don't know, that like turned me off for a second, but like 90% of that show is pure genius. And I would highly recommend it because it dives into so many different cultures and like stereotypes of those cultures' food, and then it like shows you what's actually happening. It's just, and he has so many famous friends. Like, it's crazy to see that too, but that's such a good show.
Yeah, I've seen maybe one episode, and I thought that was great. He's awesome.
Dope.
Ethan, we were shitting on you that whole time.
Oh, that's totally fine. My internet shitted on me, so everybody's shitting on me.
That's the name of the episode.
Everybody's shitting on Ethan.
Wait, there was the last episode of the podcast, or the Honey and Blue one, was hilarious. The liberal Slytherins.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Well, we talked about Harry Potter for like a half an hour, and then we talked about how I thought I would be a Slytherin if we were at Hogwarts, but I would be like, because the Slytherins' whole thing is kind of based on it's like a Aryan race type thing. They're like, oh, we only magical blood, like only, no one who's like Muggle-born can be in. So I was saying,
That's
like,
messed
I feel
up,
like I'm a Slytherin sensibility-wise, but like I'm a liberal, so I would maybe not. Like, I feel like I'm Slytherin personality type.
Slytherin without the bigotry and racism.
Exactly.
That's about it.
What is Harry Potter's class? His group. What's his group called?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. That's right.
This is so backwards from the last episode. Last episode, we were like, Harry Potter? And Stephanie was like, half an hour?
Listing.
I'm going to go on for half an hour about it.
They are like two of the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh my God, they are the best. And their new music is unbelievable.
Absolutely. And they're crazy talented. Yeah, I love Adam's stuff.
But yeah. All right, I guess that brings us pretty much to a close. Which one of your songs do you want played at the end of this?
Man, what do you want to, what should we play? Let's go out on Vibe, because it's
Vibe.
It's not depressing.
Sweet.
All right. Yeah,
You're
dude.
listening
Thank you
to
for
Vibe by Parker Lewis. Thanks you,
for
Parker.
talking to us.
Parker,
Hey, thanks, fellas.
Thank you, dude.
We'll do a clap out.
I appreciate you guys.
Clap out.
Thank you so much.
We did a good job.
Cause I need you, babe. can't seem to find nothing like you. Nothing like you. Hands to the sky, wander through ecstasy. It's you I hope to find, lost in a groove, gone in a vibe. Violet and green and gold won't satisfy tonight. And 'cause I need you, babe. And 'cause I need you, babe. And 'cause I need you, babe. I can't seem to find nothing like you. Nothing like you. Nothing like you. Nothing like you.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of our new podcast, Hear It From the Bear. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, you can find all of our music, videos, information, whatever you may need, on our website, spiritofthebearband.com.